In this video, I'm going to share my top 5 biohacks that I use to optimize my hiking experience. My name is Jared, this is Lady, and we love adventuring outdoors. Exactly what we're doing right now. But long hikes and exposure to the elements can take a huge toll on your body. That's why I'm going to share some of my favorite biohacks that I use to keep my body healthy and make hiking a little bit easier. Now, my first biohack is this right here. Nasal breathing. When you're doing aerobic exercise, such as hiking, your body produces energy in the form of ATP. This energy mainly comes from what is called the oxidative system. And just like the name suggests, this system requires oxygen. And the best way to get oxygen in your body is by nasal breathing. Our noses are specially designed to filter, humidify, and regulate the temperature of the air we take in. When we breathe through our mouths, the air doesn't get the same treatment, and it makes it a lot harder on our lungs. When you breathe in through your nose, you increase the oxygen uptake and you improve your circulation. Nasal breathing also helps your diaphragm relax and allows it to work properly, not as though it's in an anxious state all the time. The biggest use of nasal breathing for me is I use it like a limiter on a car. If I'm hiking so hard that I can't keep up nasal breathing, that means I'm pushing too hard. It might be fine for a big climb or a final last push, but this should not be your regular state for hours of hiking during the day. Now, all that is the benefit of nasal breathing, but that doesn't even mention all the negative long-term effects of mouth breathing. Things like abnormal formation of the palate, crowded teeth, and many conditions such as ADHD, diabetes, high blood pressure, and many forms of cancer have been linked to mouth breathing. Now, you don't need to wear a nasal strip like this all day. You can simply just breathe through your nose. But I like to do it because it feels like you can take in way more air, and it's a good way to train yourself when you're first starting. Number 2, proper hiking mechanics when you're walking downhill. Now, most people think that big climbs are the hardest part of hiking, but any experienced hiker will tell you that the downhills are the most difficult. You have to move a lot slower, your joints take way more impact, and you're at a lot higher risk of falling. So the first tip is make sure you're moving slow. There's no point in trying to rush downhill and risk injuring yourself. This leads into our next tip, which is take small steps. The bigger the step, the bigger the impact, and the bigger the risk of injury. Smaller steps also allow for much better control on the descent. Next, you want to try as best as possible to keep your feet pointed downhill. This can be difficult for big steps or technical terrain, but this will allow your lower body to act as a natural shock absorber, instead of putting all the strain on the ligaments in your knee. You also want to avoid leaning back too far. Land on your midfoot with your knees bent and try and catch yourself with your quads and not with a stiff leg. Hiking downhill will definitely stress your quads, but it's way better to have sore muscles than sore joints. My final tip for hiking downhill is to train your knees. Your knees are going to take a ton of impact when you're hiking downhill, so it's best to have them as resilient as possible. My favorite exercise is called the ATG split squat. It's like a deep lunge where you push your knee as far forward over your toes as possible. You can even start having your front leg up on a bench and slowly work your way down. My third hiking biohack is try hiking in barefoot shoes. Hiking in barefoot or minimalist shoes is great for injury prevention. Many people think that a big stiff boot with high ankle support is the best way to stay safe. However, these boots don't let your feet and ankles work as they intended to. Your feet and ankles are like shock absorbers for your whole body. If they aren't allowed to properly absorb that force, the rest of your body will take it further up the chain. This can lead to a ton of pain in your knees, hips, and even your spine. Also, if you're hiking in big squishy running shoes, it's like building a stack of books on top of a mattress. When you apply force to that system, it can be very unpredictable where that energy will go. Barefoot or wide toe box shoes are also great for preventing blisters. Because there's so much more room for your toes at the end, there's a lot less rubbing inside the shoe. Barefoot shoes also make you more aware of your surrounding. With big hiking boots on, it's easy to stomp through terrain without a second thought. But with minimalist shoes on, you feel every step, and you're aware of what you're stepping on before you put your full force onto it. So if I step on a big rock or tree branch with my minimalist shoes, my body will naturally adjust before I put my full weight on it. If I'm wearing big hiking boots that don't give me any sensation on the bottom of my feet, I'm not going to feel what I'm stepping on until it's probably too late. These shoes will definitely help to strengthen your feet, but it's important that you take this journey really slowly. A lot of people jump right into the whole barefoot life and end up injuring themselves. The best way to start is by simply taking your shoes off and going for a light walk or run on some grass or sand. I started by just walking around and standing all day in my barefoot shoes at work. When I first started, even that was difficult. But after some time of building up to it, I was able to do short runs and hikes. Now, almost a year and a half later, I'm able to run marathons and hike for 12 or more hours a day. Number 4, don't wear sunglasses. When your eyes are exposed to sunlight, your body produces melanin. Melanin is what gives you a tan and protects your skin from ultraviolet light. And ultraviolet light is what causes your skin to burn. The problem is, when your eyes aren't exposed to light, then your pituitary gland doesn't get the signal to produce more melanin, and therefore you burn. Now, there definitely are a few high glare environments where you want to have some eye protection, such as hiking next to open water or hiking in the snow. Now, this brings me to my final hiking biohack, and probably the most controversial. Number 5, don't wear sunscreen. Now, let me explain why. First of all, it's a huge hassle to apply. It's greasy, it's gross, and it burns your eyes when you start sweating. And on top of that, it's full of toxic chemicals, such as oxybenzone, octinoxate, and octocrylene. Not to mention all the toxic oils that are the base of the sunscreen that get absorbed into your skin over time. I much prefer using physical barriers, such as a good hat, long clothing, and a neck buff. That way you can take off layers and let your body get healthy sun exposure early in the morning and late in the afternoon. Now, I do occasionally use sunscreen in the hottest part of the day when I don't want to be completely covered in clothing. But when I do, I look for one that has zinc as the main ingredient and one that's not full of hydrogenated oils. Now, that's it for my top 5 hiking biohack. If you have any useful hacks of your own, or if you disagree with any of my opinions, let me know in the comments below. Make sure to check out our playlist for more hiking information, and tune in next time for more adventures. Left, right, left. Oxygen. Just too many buttons?